4 years ago, I first noticed sort of swelling in my feet, and what subsequently turned out to be water retention. And after a few visits to the doctor and various medication, water tablets and so forth, I went to the Royal, and Professor Turner informed me that I had membranous nephropathy, whatever that was. Turned out to be a kidney problem. Said it was relatively rare and it could get worse or it could go away, but he would treat it. 2 years in, my kidney began to deteriorate quite seriously, and he informed me that a transplant was relatively imminent. By that, I think he meant about 6 months to a year, and that was 2 years ago. And at that point, I informed all my friends, the nearest and dearest, of my condition. And that was when Bruce immediately stepped up to the plate and said, well, if you need a kidney, you know, no problem.
I was aware of Brian's kidney problems. He told me over a period of a year or so, and like you do when you're in touch with relatives, how are you keeping, how are you feeling? And Brian kept me posted. And then one day, about 2 years ago, said, I'm going to need a transplant. And I immediately said, have one of mine, hoping I would be fit enough, but not really imagining I would be. I mean, I was 64 years of age at that time. I'm now 66. But we immediately went up to the hospital. The hospital, in fairness, went into all the fairly graphic detail of what would be going through. Needed assurances from me that I was serious about it. It was my brother, so it was just it was a no-brainer. It's a loved one, you know, so of course you would do it, and I think anyone would. And so I never really had any doubts, but my family did. My kids, my partner were very concerned about me going through this operation. They were concerned for their Uncle Brian, but they were concerned for their dad, you know, for me as well. And I think sometimes it's more difficult on the negative side, if you like, explaining to your family why you're a donor, a living donor. And also at the same time, I was getting briefed by Sarah Lundy and others up at the hospital who were extremely helpful and considerate. There was a very good tactile, just the way they presented themselves to us was very helpful. I had read and I'd heard and I'd seen documentaries about kidney transplant, so I knew it was a feasibility. You know, it was doable. But I hadn't really thought about it hard before, and I think an awful lot of men in particular don't. Do you not agree, Brian? I mean, it's something. I mean, until Brian became ill with his kidney, I'm sure you didn't think, no, I'm going to have kidney failure and I'll need a kidney. And I'm surprised when I heard that there are more women who are donors than men. But I think it's an ignorance. I think it's just people don't know. It's a big thought, big thing to consider, and you must make sure your family are aware of what you're going to go through.
The downside of kidney disease, my problem, was the length of time that I've been on medication, and increasing medication. And I will continue to be on fairly substantial medication for the rest of my life. The pros, of course, I think, are self-evident. You know, I'm looking better, I'm feeling better, I'm beginning to put on a bit more muscle tone. I will be back on the golf course soon.
The pros for me is that I felt my big brother. And other people could do the same for their family or even for strangers. That's a big plus. There's a good feeling about being able to do that and have very little ill effect myself. One of the things about having gone through what we've gone through is the success is amazing. But to me, it's almost miraculous how this can work. And as a result, if there's anything we can do having been through this that would encourage other people to become donors or to at least to put themselves down on the donor list, then to me, again, that's a no-brainer.
This has happened to me, and it's happened to him. And we've done it, we've come through it. And he's in his late 60s, I'm in my mid 70s. And we've done it, and we've come through it. And any man can do it. And the care and attention from the National Health Service is fantastic, and you're doing something great for your fellow man.